Hello, and welcome to another meeting of the Geek Cabal, Cabal Whisperings. This is episode number 26, and today's date is July 2nd, 2024. I'm finally back. I don't know how long, but I'll be back. Back right now. I'm Jim.
I'm Owen.
Bobby?
So, today, I guess first we'll go through our channel news today and make our way down through our usual gambit of topics and probably have a little bit shorter episode, maybe. I don't know. We always say that, and that's like 3 hours later. We're going into the intricate workings of I don't know, warp speed travel in the Star Trek universe and how it doesn't actually tear into the fabric at any point except for in that one episode.
Yeah, except for the one episode, like, oh, the warp travel right through here is really screwing with things. Like, oh, we're restricted to warp 5, which we'll never mention again in the whole show. Or any sequel series.
Which I just think it was just that one area, and it was just because all the warp fields were isolated to a narrow path or whatever. But anyway.
Because I'm sure Janeway was like, yeah, I'm going to adhere to that while I'm over here in this other quadrant I'm never going to see ever again. Warp 9 all the way. But so beginning news. In 2 days, it will be Independence Day for those of us here in America. It'll be Happy Colonial Revolt Day for those of you in England.
We just missed Canada Day for our Canadian folks up there, so Happy Canada Day, belated.
Oh, did I send you the picture about that? So there's like a bird with a Canadian flag. It's like, oh, Happy Canada Day, and then you see this eagle, and it's like, rah! It's like 4th of July. Canada's like, oh.
That's Canada.
Yeah, channel news. I've been recording videos about the Acolyte, Star Wars The Acolyte. Episode 6 will be on tonight after we're done recording this, presumably. So I'm up to 5 episodes. If you haven't checked those out, check them out. Last couple seem to be kind of popular. The summation is it's not quite the dumpster fire people make it out to be, but we're going to talk a little bit more about it later.
Owen and I have not watched any of it yet. It's hard to see, just something, to think that you're going to go into watching something bad for something that you love so much. And that's not me saying that I know it's bad or anything like that. It's just like you hear all this negative things and it just puts that bad taste in your mouth and you're like, I don't know if I want to go and try to watch something that may make me hate the one thing that I love. But the way I look at it is I can separate Disney Star Wars from George Lucas Star Wars.
There's this magical thing called hate watching.
But you have to take a larger view if one is to understand the great mystery, Jim. Let's see. Beyond that, I also did a video talking about all the weird reactions to the Acolyte. And I've got the feeling there's some stuff you guys probably haven't come across yet. We'll see if you have. We'll get to it when we talk about it here after a while. But that's been the bulk of what we've done. I finally posted the video of the book review we did the last time we got together. Because after we recorded it, I got to thinking about it. I was like, I'm pretty sure I got parts of that wrong. And so I kind of thumbed through the book a little bit. Yeah, so I recorded a little thing at the very beginning, and now I'm just waiting for the hate mail of all the things I got wrong in the review. So, because I've already gotten a message just telling me that from like the GenCon video, the rebuttal video that we did like 4 months ago, to remind me that the hotel with the train cars is the Crown Plaza Hotel. For the video 4 months ago.
Yeah.
that if they saw any of the other videos, they probably know that I know that it's the Crown Plaza Hotel.
Yeah.
Well,
it's not the internet if somebody's not making a comment, so. Which, don't get me wrong, we like the comments, even if they are kind of sometimes
like... Oh, yeah. If there's a problem with the videos, if you're the guy that keeps downvoting the Acolyte videos, tell me why. Are you a Disney shill? Am I getting something wrong? Do you not like the presentation? Do you dislike the interior of my car where I'm recording them? Like, don't like redheads? What? Just tell me. What is it?
Well, I don't know. That one person loved your BattleTech lore. They're like, look at this guy dropping all this lore in his car. 1,000 years of lore.
But yeah, that's been the bulk of the videos lately. I am going to make one or two more X-Men videos because I did a couple talking about like the reaction people in the Marvel universe have to mutants and is it justified. Because I want to make one more about like the other heroes and then finally like a wrap-up video. Those are going to be made very soon. There are going to be some GenCon videos coming very soon because I want to update all of our tips and stuff for people that haven't been to GenCon. On the off chance that you don't see those, but you do see this, the one major tip I have right now is if you're watching this very shortly after we release it and you're at all contemplating buying a new pair of shoes for Gen Con, do it now because you want them broken in by the time you get there. You don't want to buy them like the day before because it's going to kill your feet because there's a hell of a lot of walking. So other than that, watch our other videos. If we don't have the others up in time, which we should, but if we don't, check out our older ones. They're under the Gen Con playlist. So
Yeah, I was gonna say speed walking the vendor hall took me like 2.5 hours to do, and that was me speed walking through that. So yeah, definitely is a walking experience. And unlike me, most people are going to actually stop and look at stuff more in depth. I was just trying to get as much of the experience as I could into one single video. So, I would say if you wonder where I have been as of recent, well, I've had COVID, so got that. Weirdly enough, I got that when we were in Savannah, Georgia, because Owen actually was down in Savannah for Beta Nationals, which is a
Academic competition.
Yep, and Owen was in creative writing, and in the nation, Owen placed 9th in creative writing. So he was a little disappointed because he placed 4th last year, but creative writing being very subjective, we are all very proud of you. Awesome. And Owen's been actually doing some writing, trying to get a book written.
I wouldn't say writing as much as planning. I'm
Hey,
not a very good planner.
Planning is part of writing a book. Most people don't go blindly into a book.
well, did I send you the one graph of how that tends to work out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually the finalizing project is
It's completely separate from everything else. You just go into the loop, and you may eventually somehow mistakenly find yourself over there.
Yeah.
No, you see, to finish a project, you have to go through. You have to dedicate yourself. It's a struggle. By the end, you'll learn what it means to be human.
So, but yes. Anyways, congratulations, Owen. That's awesome. Gonna go up and receive an award and do all that stuff. And yeah, Savannah, Georgia. That's a pretty neat place to go. That was definitely want to go back there at some
I
point.
still can't believe how bad she butchered the school's name.
Oh yes, they had, they had to try to like announce the school's name, and the town we live in is let's just say it's got a lot of vowels in it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen it mispronounced horribly, like on national television a few times.
So yeah, and it wasn't just like let's pronounce it this one way. It was like them trying to pronounce it, them trying to pronounce it again, them trying to pronounce it again, to the point that Owen, like when they, like I won't even show the video footage because Owen's just like, the face he gave because they couldn't say the name right. He's just like, it was hilarious.
I mean, even trying to get there was a struggle because I was the only person from my school.
Yeah, that's another conversation for another day. But yeah,
yeah, you told me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the school wouldn't even encourage him to go, and he placed 1st in the state, and they wouldn't even encourage him to, like, I asked him, like, hey, are you going to go? They're like, well, we just expected the students to come up and ask. And I'm like, that's not how a sponsor's supposed to motivate the kids to go and push and do more and do all that. But no, it was fun. It was a fun trip. We flew from Indianapolis to Atlanta to Savannah, and then when we flew back, I made sure I took a different way just because I wanted him to be able to see something neat. And we flew into New York, which is cool because we had the Empire State Building right outside the window.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was definitely a neat flight, but it was also 40 minutes from one terminal to another one, and we literally ran across the airport, By the time we got there, they were starting to board. So
They were not just on the board. We had time to use the restroom. Exaggerating the details.
well, barely had time to use the restroom. If you had to take a dump, you'd been in trouble.
Hey, that's why airplanes have
Well,
toilets.
I mean, it's New York. You didn't actually have to go to the facilities. You'd have been just fine going wherever, I'm sure.
Yeah. I thought that was San Francisco.
Well, I think they have similar policies, but yes, that is more of San Francisco's forte. In New York, it's more a matter of if you wanted to, like, shank somebody on the way, you'd probably been all right.
Well, that's like I want to say it was Ted Cruz was showing Gavin Newsom was talking about the thing on his the map, and it was the map of all the human feces that was found in San Francisco. It's like the whole thing's just covered, which is,
We no, just
moving on from human feces.
What do we have?
Hang on, I got one other thing. The gentleman that Chad and I know lives nearby, who has also started his own channel, Back Gaming and miniatures and stuff like that. I just wanted to mention it. He's just now starting. He's only got a few videos so far, but if you're at all interested in like D&D, miniature painting, stuff like that, check it out. It's Dayton Gaming, etc. I'll try to remember to post a link down in the description. Yeah, like I said, he's just starting out, but he's got decent stuff on there so far. He's a good guy, so check it out. But yeah, so as far as channel news, that's probably about the rest of it. I mean, we're going to hopefully get some new BattleTech stuff because I'll talk about that in gaming. We'll come to that.
Yeah.
All right. So movies. Jim and I have apparently finally watched the unwatchable, or at least what we thought was.
Yeah, and believe it or not, so my one unwatchable movie to rewatch again or whatever is still Spider-Man 3. I could probably watch Ghostbusters. This is the one we're talking about, Ghostbusters 2016. We both watched it because I think it came up as at least on one of the free streaming services.
Yeah, it was on Tubi, I think.
Yeah, so we both watched that, and honestly, I think it got a lot more hate than it probably deserved to have. But I do see a lot of flaws and a lot of issues with it. Kind of like my biggest takeaway from it is it reminded me of the live-action Scooby-Doo movies. It was very campy. The special effects were just really like they were trying to appeal to like smaller kids almost. But I mean, with that being said, I thought the dynamic with the team was pretty good. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of slapstick humor that I think was just forced in there. I think if they used, the natural chemistry it seemed like the group had, I think they could have had a pretty good, crew there. Chris Hemsworth, I think his character was the absolute worst. Like, I get making a man stupid.
Oh, no, I thought he was hilarious, personally.
But, again, it's like, why did they even hire him in the first place? Why did they even need a receptionist?
Because it's an inversion of the other. Like, so since they had a secretary, they've got to have a secretary. And like, well, if it's going to be a male secretary, you've really only got two choices there, in my opinion. You've got, like, did you ever see Gargoyles cartoon?
Yeah.
Okay, the guy that helped Xanatos, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. You either got him, ultra serious, effective, or the other end. There's like no middle ground with male secretaries. There's not an average male secretary. And so if it's going to be the other end, which, that's what they went with, he's probably going to be eye candy. And so, I thought it was funny.
And I think some of the stuff he did, but I mean, they made him to the point where he's like almost non-functioning as a human being. But I think some of that kind of you could have played that a little bit differently. I think the biggest flaw with the 2016 Ghostbusters movie was the writing. I think the writing and the forced humor in there, like every single time they fire the prototype, like the one where they were out there in the alleyway. I mean, it's surprising they didn't kill somebody. There's like, oh, look at she's flying around with the.
Yeah,
I'm like, if any of that stuff actually happened to anybody, I mean, everybody's almost near death all the time.
Now, I've not watched the movie. You two have. You mentioned excessive slapstick humor, but didn't the original have?
It did, but we won't completely lose audio, but it'll switch to that. So that light is on now. Okay, good.
Yeah, we'll find out in editing.
Well, no, it'll like the mic will still come out from there. We just may have to have a spot where you have to boom. So as you know, we're pros about having technical difficulties with our things here. So I apologize about that. So continue on.
I mean, the only other things in movies are upcoming movies we're looking forward to, like Alien Romulus, Deadpool, Wolverine.
Yes, and Owen, I give you permission that you need to go and watch Deadpool 1 and 2.
I'm sure there's other movies that are coming out that sound good. I'm drawing a total blank at the moment on what they would be. I don't even know what trailers are out, so...
Well, we can move on.
For Fathom Events, there's some more movies coming out, but they've been out for a while. The Fifth Element will be on again in November. Blazing Saddles will be on in September.
Oh boy.
Well, that's the one that people are like, I'm kind of surprised that we're going to actually have that, but...
I want to go watch that just to see how Leonard Moulton introduces it at the beginning. If it's going to be one of those, well, here we are, we would get here someday. Or if it's going to be... So you need to understand, 50 years ago, things were just a little bit different in our culture. Or the ever-popular... So, you've probably heard a lot of things about the language used in this movie. Everything you heard is true, so buckle up.
So.
Yeah. That's probably it on movies. Gaming. Jim, you have something for us here.
Oh, yes, and we're going to be doing a more in-depth video of this. I mean, I'm just going to talk about it just for a second here. And that is, I got me a Neo Geo Pocket Color. I don't actually know if there's a Neo Geo Pocket that's not color, but they indicate that it's color, and it is color. So,
for those of you who are only listening to this, if any of you are doing that, this is like essentially a Game Boy, but for the Neo Geo.
Yeah, or from Neo Geo. So
about the size of a Game Boy Advance. You'd say?
And exactly the same type of screen as like a Game Boy Advance. It's not backlit at all. So
okay.
Kind of a. So I bought this. Well, I didn't buy it. First of all, my fiance got it for me for Father's Day because I had told her that I had already had 2 games for it. Because I got this in a lot of Game Boy games. So I got a copy of Metal Slug First Mission and Pac-Man. And I picked these up at, I think it was a yard sale or something, where I got them with a bunch of other Game Boy games. And I don't think people knew what they were. So I already had those 2. And when she got this, the console, it came with another game, which is King of Fighters R2, which is the Pocket Fighting Series version. So it's like the people with the chibi heads. Big heads. And yeah, so we're going to, some point after this, I'm going to do a review on this, and you'll see that up on the channel at some point too. But, if you don't watch that, if you're watching it here, the one thing to note is these are not region-based. So you can buy a Japanese version, which if you are looking to buy one, Japanese version is the way to go because it's cheaper. And actually importing it from Japan is not that expensive. But yeah, like I said, the games aren't region locked. When you boot it up for the first time, it asks do you want English or Japanese.
Oh, okay.
So pretty cool. So that is what I picked up recently. I guess I could dig at some other stuff. Somewhere in there, some handful of games. I couldn't tell you which ones they are. There's, over here in the back where you can't see, there's a whole stack full of games, and I did pick up some more Nintendo games and different things. I did finally get a copy of Lester the Unlikely, which is a game for the Super Nintendo where you play like a nerd.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, you're such a nerd, like when enemies come near you, you get scared and run off.
Yeah, that is something.
Yeah. But
all right. Got a few things about BattleTech, since we're here in gaming. The BattleTech Kickstarter, the Mercenaries Kickstarter, has started shipping as far as fulfillment. So if you backed that and you haven't seen the news, your stuff is potentially on its way or will be very shortly. The digital files are up on BackerKit. Most of them. I don't think they're all up there yet. And what this means is that sometime in the next few months, this stuff will actually be at retail. Some of it. I imagine they're going to roll it out like they did the first one in waves or something. Also out now is the updated version of the Game of Armored Combat box set and the Beginner box set, which have new artwork for the 40th anniversary. And I've got the Game of Armored Combat box set, which hopefully we'll do the unboxing video of to see if there are any differences between it and the regular version, and we'll note that. Then I also have the Urban Mech Land Air Mech to unbox, so that's always exciting for new Urban Mechs. Don't know what, if anything, is going to be super surprise special for GenCon stuff, but they always have something, so we'll know in a few weeks. I don't think anything new popped up at Origins, from what I understand, so we'll just have to see. I mean, they've got their usual, like, they've started making steins now, and pins and hats and things like that, but they'll usually have something that's new that they'll have, like, flown in from China, like 400 copies of it that sell out in 10 minutes. So, once we see what that is, hopefully Chad and I will be able to grab a hold of a couple of them and do some unboxings. Other than that, I don't know of any...
Haven't they started, like, releasing rules for the new version of D&D?
Yeah, the Player's Handbook, I think. I don't know if it's out yet, but, like, people are talking about parts of it. There's some interesting talk about parts of it. Without showing you the picture, this isn't going to make a whole lot of sense, but the orcs appear to have drawn inspiration from our friends from the south in Mexico for this edition. I believe this is to combat the ever-popular yet thoroughly wrong, orcs represent black people comments. Now apparently they're going to represent Mexicans. I don't see how this is an improvement, because you're still basing them on a real-world ethnic group as near as I can tell. So, and that apparently was the problem in the first place, so just switching the ethnic group doesn't really fix the problem.
But ponchos are cool, man.
Well, they are, and I can't wait to see, the orc with no name show up, with his with his duster and his cigarro, and, in the ugly, and the ugly, because they'll all be orcs. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's an unfortunate bit of art, maybe it was trying to give them a culture beyond being bloodthirsty savages, and they just unconsciously went with Mexico. I don't know. Maybe there's more to it. I got to see the book. I do know that Dragonlance stuff has been referenced several times in the book, apparently, so it's still an official setting, which is kind of surprising, given that Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman are, like, as near as I can tell, really pissed off at Wizards of the Coast at the moment, so, yeah, I don't know. That's going places. Kind of tied into that, very, very briefly. I posted this on our Twitter account. Apparently the miniatures line is going to make an updated version of the first set that they made for 5th edition, Tyranny of Dragons, that they made like 10 years ago. But they're going to have, it's the same set, but like new sculpts and paint jobs and everything. And what they've shown so far is a vast improvement over the original. So that's kind of cool. The downside is, as I understand it, is this is still 5.0 artwork, and apparently 5.5, or whatever the hell we're going to call it, has different artwork like for the dragons and stuff. So that it won't actually look like the artwork for the creatures that will be in the books by the time the set comes out.
Because every time we get a new edition, we got to change the entire art style.
Yeah, that's dumb, but that's what they do.
And they still can't find a way to make Ranger viable.
Just leave him a fighter. I mean, that's what it's just a fighter that happens to work in the woods instead of the streets. Like, just quit fiddling around with it. You know, make it a fighter that's got a pet. Boom, done. But anyway, so yeah, 5th edition, D&D Next, 6th edition, 5.5, whatever the hell it is slowly rolling out.
5.43.
Yeah.
2-1.
Yeah, so that stuff's coming out. Don't think there's anything super exciting that I know of on Kickstarter gaming-wise at the moment. So no, drawing a blank there. Probably something I'll remember as soon as we're done recording, but
That's how it goes.
yeah.
Give us more topics later.
Yeah. So yeah, for what it's worth though, on the miniature front, there is another Pathfinder set coming up soon. It's undead based, called Armies of the Dead. It looks pretty awesome. I don't know what half the creatures are in it, because they're Pathfinder creatures, but they look pretty awesome. So check that out too if you want some cool looking minis for undead creatures. So, because I think all but 2 or 3 of the miniatures in the set are undead creatures. So,
I mean, I would expect that.
well, the problem is they also put like PC minis in there, and since most PCs are not dead,
You would generally think that.
yeah,
However,
I said most. Yeah, other than that, I don't know. I know, kind of gaming related, I am still waiting on the dice I ordered a year and a half ago. No, sorry, the dice that were supposed to be delivered a year and a half ago. I didn't order them a year and a half ago. I ordered them like 2 years ago. Supposedly, they are slowly showing up at their installation in Ohio. I don't believe that, but we'll see. I've got most of the stuff I've ordered off Kickstarter has actually shown up recently. I did sink some money into the Dwarven Forge sci-fi thing. Not as much as I would have liked to, because money's been kind of tight, but you know, that's the story of the last several months. Yeah, they came up with a new a new set, and it's like $1,200. And I was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna pass on that one. Like, it looks cool, but like, no. I mean, it does come with a $90 gift certificate too, so you know, there is that. So it's really only like $1,100. No, it's too much.
you're not going to really convince yourself.
Nope, not even. But yeah, that's about all I've got on gaming. Owen, you wanted to talk about something.
About the
All the stuff Ubisoft's going through right now.
Oh, well, yeah, there was that too.
well, we were talking about also the video game remake market right now, which is funny because the video game remake thing going on is very similar to the reboots or the remade versions of like Disney classics, taking them to live action or we're like on the third version of Willy Wonka as a movie.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody just, I don't know, as if it's just like lack of ideas, or it's just like
That's what it's. Lack of ideas coupled with no one wants to take a chance with a lot of money, and the only way to make a lot of money is to spend a lot of money, in their opinion. So it's like whenever we talked about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. The larger the budget becomes, the more tightly controlled it's going to be by the people at the top, the less risks they're going to want to take, and so the more it just begins to look like every other movie that's that tier. These literal checkboxes start coming out, and it all just becomes the same bland goo that no one wants because they don't want to take the risks. Meanwhile, you've got like Godzilla -1 costs like $20 million to make somehow, and The Acolyte has 8 episodes. It is approximately 4 hours of television. $180 million. That's the real mystery of that show, is where the hell did that money go? This has to be a money laundering operation. Like, we're on episode 5 already. I have not seen anywhere near approximately $90 million for half of this production. Like, the last 2 episodes had to be like an hour-long space battle or something, which it won't be. So, yeah, I have no idea where the hell $180 million went. Godzilla minus one, $20 million. Looks spectacular.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, as far as video game remakes, I do hope that I hope that the Command and Conquer remake of the regular and the Red Alert was successful enough to convince them to update Red Alert 2. And Command and Conquer 2 would be nice too, but Red Alert 2 mainly, because that, in my opinion, that's the best game in the entire franchise. So, to see that one updated would be great. Especially if they can somehow incorporate bigger maps. Yeah.
Space.
Well, that's the third one. Yeah, I'd say more Tim Curry, but I'm pretty sure he had a stroke. I don't think he's going to be in anything ever again.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks. I mean, like, it really sucks. But
You can just take his voice lines and just take all of his recordings and just make them look better and keep them in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's other games I'd like to see them update. When you said they've updated up to Resident Evil 3.
No.
Back up to Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
No. 4 is the one I never played, so.
Well, is it 5 with the boulder punching?
Yeah, 5's the boulder punching.
I have 5, I just haven't played very much of it.
So that'd be great if they remade that and like had it in like high quality of him punching a boulder.
Well,
no.
I think before that they need to upgrade.
4 is when it all went off the rails.
You know, I hear everyone I see a lot of people like, the best Resident Evil game as a game is 4, but the least Resident Evil game is 4.
I mean,
well, yeah, that's the way I hear it explained.
When they're not turning somebody into a Jill sandwich, I'm just.
Oh, Master of Lockpicking?
Yes.
Yeah, no, they'll still need to update 0 and Code Veronica before they get to 5.
But no,
and that's assuming they don't go into the spin-off games.
Oh, Resident Evil Survivor?
Yeah, the spin-off games.
Resident Evil Revelations. But no, yeah, like, video game remakes, increasingly more prevalent, but not saying they're bad. Like, Resident Evil 2 remake, I haven't played it, but I hear it's one of, like, the best remakes ever made.
Well, Resident Evil 2, yes. Resident Evil 3, no. Which makes you wonder, what the hell did they do wrong between 2 and 3 to make 3?
Yeah, they remade Resident Evil 2. Everyone loved it, said it was amazing. And then they remade Resident Evil 3, and nobody liked it. But I think it's, like, one of the big changes is that in the original Resident Evil 2, Mr. X was a scripted enemy. But in the remake, he was completely just roaming. He was unpredictable. But they did the opposite with Nemesis, where in the original he was free roaming, but in the remake he's entirely scripted.
But you said that right now they're working on a remake of Silent Hill 2?
Yeah, they're remaking Silent Hill 2. I don't know when that's coming out.
I'd like to see them update Super Mario World. That, like, have, more power-ups than just the mushroom and the cape. And the fire flower. Because I always felt that, like, if you could somehow merge the best aspects of 3 in Mario World, that, like, you pretty well have, like, the pinnacle of 8 and or 16-bit Super Mario game.
The Tanuki.
Yeah, because, like, 3 has, like, all the power-ups.
Yeah.
4 has, like, the overland map.
Yeah.
And the better graphics because it's 16-bit, but you lost the power-ups. Like if you could merge those two, well, then you'd have dynamite there.
Well, what about Super Mario Bros. 2?
That should also be updated, but with like someone from Nintendo explaining what the hell's going on in a video at the beginning or something.
So you see, we thought this was too hard for you. So here's this other game we
just go off and turn it into a Mario game,
and then we'll give you the original Mario 2 as the lost levels.
Yeah.
Because you Americans can't handle hard video games.
Which is weird because that's a whole conversation in itself. Where sometimes our games get made easier and the Japanese games are harder, while other times they get made easier and our games become harder. Now, there's a reason why there's a term called NES hard, and that's because a lot of these games don't take very long to play through. For example, The Karate Kid, 4 levels. Have you ever beat the game?
Yeah, I didn't play the game.
Oh, I've never beat the game. Like it is like impossibly difficult. But they do that because it's 4 levels.
I've heard a description of one of the Battletoads games. There's one particular level that the writer said that this is literally just a test to see if you have psychic powers, because that's the only hope you have of actually like navigating it, because the things that happen, being able to react to them.
But you have to realize...
Yeah, the Turbo Tunnel, I believe, is the one that... Or where you're on the rocket bikes and you have to like see things coming and be able to navigate. I've never beat Battletoads either. And Battletoads is the other one. It's like, you don't ever play that as 2-player because there is no option to turn off friendly hits. And there's one where you're rappelling down with these swords. You can chop the other person's line.
Oh man!
Well, you see, since the games are so hard, to beat them, you're gonna keep renting them out.
Right. Yeah, no, I get it. It's like with arcade games. Like, if they were slightly easier, you're not going to spend $10 trying to beat it. Like whenever my cousin and I tried to beat the X-Men arcade game, and I think we spent $5 just fighting Magneto at the end. It still didn't beat him.
Did you welcome to die?
Yeah, I think so. I did actually beat the game finally in a different arcade that was like free play. You just paid and then you can play all the games. Yeah, we beat it there. But yeah, now like with the Resident Evil games, honestly, they should combine 2 and 3 because they take place at the same time. Because 2 takes place while Jill is unconscious in part 3. Literally, when she gets knocked out, that's when 2 takes place. Then you pick back up as her, is the last little bit of the story, basically. And then combine 0 and 1, because 0 ends where 1 begins.
Yeah, because Rebecca makes her way into the mansion, and that's where you find her in the mansion. Yeah. Which is funny, she never mentions anything about the other crap she just went through.
So, man, guys, all this other stuff happened. No time, Rebecca, we gotta go. Okay, thanks. literally, a whole video, approximately 1 video game's worth of stuff happened to me over there. That's an oddly specific unit of time you gave there, Rebecca.
Yeah, and by the way, I think it's the second one, you find, because when he plays Leon, that's the second one, right?
Yeah.
You find the creepiest one of when I say creepy, it's are
you talking about the one enemy?
No. I'm not talking creepy. I'm talking creeper type person. Is you go to Wesker's desk, and if you search it 50 times, an Easter egg happens. And on his desk, you find he has a picture of Rebecca in like these skimpy shorts.
Yeah.
Wesker's creep.
That's probably just a clone.
When he's not plotting, doing weird plot things where he takes away Alice's powers and then gives it back to her at the beginning of another movie, and
yeah, I think it's killed by a door.
Or
that's how he died in the last movie, right? Where they're just like, you're firing, the door just like smashes him or something, some baloney like that.
Or where like he gets killed off in the first game, but oh no, that was a fake out, so he comes back in the 5th one as the main villain.
Yeah, he's in Code Veronica before that, but
yeah. Excluding the spin-offs. Okay. There's a lot of spin-offs.
Code Veronica's not a spin-off. That's got Chris, Claire, Wesker. That's a mainline game. They just gave it a stupid name.
There's a ludicrous amount of spin-offs for Resident Evil.
Yeah. Isn't there one on a cruise ship?
Yeah, I think it was like one of the Revelations.
Yeah.
There's one on the.
There's
a prototype you can play that was on the Game Boy.
And then they made a crappy Netflix TV show.
You can play one on. You can play Resident Evil 2 on the game.com.
That show was
the GameCom, which was Tiger's Tiger's game system. All right.
We spent long enough ranting about evil residents.
Yeah, so we'll save the conversation about the.
Maybe we can do another video like top 5 games each of us would like to see remade or something.
Yeah.
Make an argument for it. We'll do a video about that sometime. All right. So I think we mentioned this, but Jim, you want to?
Yeah, because we talked about Owen's placement in beta. We did that in the channel news.
That was at the beginning.
Yep. And that's, I was going to say, to add to that a little bit, what they do is they give him a prompt. And I don't know what the prompt was, but they give him a prompt, and then you have so much time to write.
It's creative writing, right?
Yeah, creative writing.
They give you exactly 90 minutes from the time you start, where they give you the prompt. I did it all online, and just the website they use, there is a whole lot of room for shenanigans. Like, here's the thing: they don't let you pre-write anything. However, if you start save and exit, well, the saving feature is broken on the website. It just kicks you out, so you'll lose everything you had written. However, you could see the prompt, write something, and then go back in fresh.
I don't recommend doing that because, I mean, obviously it's a competition and you should be doing it legit.
No, I didn't do that.
I know you did. I mean, Owen, you're probably one of the most respectable people in that thing. Like, I mean, I probably would have, because I would have wanted the extra time and all that. But Owen's got so much moral whatever that he wouldn't do anything like that. But no, that's what they do, and then it gets judged. And I mean, I assume some of it's judged on your grammatical whatever, but I'm assuming almost all of it is based off of the creativity, the storytelling, and all of that. And I said, being able to place it all is awesome because it's a very subjective thing.
Yeah.
And like I said, he placed first in the state and 9th in the nation. Last year you placed.
Suddenly someone likes what I write.
Yep. And last year, what did you place in the state?
I placed 3rd in the state, and then I went on to place 4th in the nation somehow.
That's pretty impressive, Owen. I mean, that is a big deal.
So yeah, maybe.
So now you're kind of a big deal.
Yes. What you need to do is continue your writing. Take your time. Do your writing. I know. You said right now you're only been working on some of your planning out and stuff like that, but that's all part of writing. You take your time with that, and maybe we'll be doing book reviews on you at some point. The other thing I told him is that he looks at other writers, and this is something I want to bring up for other people that are interested in writing too, is you can't ever compare yourself to how other people write, because everybody has different levels, different writing styles, different this and that. All you can do is compare you can only judge yourself. I think the best way to say it. You can only look at your own personal work. You can't look at how your work stacks up to other people's work, unless you're writing for somebody else.
So I shouldn't compare myself to like Ernest Hemingway or something?
No.
Okay.
You can certainly judge other people's writing.
Yeah, but I mean, you shouldn't be like, oh, well, I'm not as good as this writer, I'm not as good as that writer. Because if you do that, you'll never want to write anything. You'll never want to get your creativity out. You need to write for yourself and not worry about whatever other people think about it. Just you write what you want to write and get your story out there. Now, just understand, though, there's going to be some people that aren't going to like what you write, and there's going to be people that love what you write. Yeah, other people are just indifferent.
Well, and kind of to your point there, Owen, as far as like, you can always judge other people's writing. I heard a comment, this was about movies, this was a few weeks ago, someone posted this, was, I don't remember who said this, but they basically said, anyone can tell you where you messed up. No one can tell you how to fix it.
It's also the one thing they always hear is that you can't write a character that's smarter than you are.
Yeah, that is a major problem that some people have, is that it is literally impossible because you don't have the mental aptitude to pretend to be smarter, because you can't. It's like the Mirrorverse episode in Star Trek, how Spock immediately knew that the others were wrong because they're barbarians. Barbarians can't pretend to be civilized because they don't know what it is to be civilized. Civilized people can pretend to be barbarians, because they're more enlightened.
Yeah.
They know what barbarism looks like. You can only go one way; you can't go the other. And so there's a movie. I can't think of what it is. I think Gene Hackman's in it. I'm pretty sure it's Gene Hackman, because someone asked him how he comes up with his plans. And I'm pretty sure this is Gene Hackman that said this. And it literally says, I envision a man smarter than myself, and then I ask myself, what would he do? And I'm like, that's impossible. Like, you literally can't do that. You can only envision someone as smart as yourself.
If you were to envision someone smarter than yourself and be like, oh wow, why didn't I think of that? You're simply limiting yourself.
Yeah.
That's not someone smarter. That's how smart you are.
Exactly. And that's why people that try to write mastermind characters tend to fail, because what they ultimately write is happenstance that looks like good planning, but it's not really if you really dissect it. That's why Timothy Zahn is an excellent writer and probably a really smart guy, because he writes Thrawn, and he writes him in such a way that, I can see why Thrawn wins here. It's not happenstance. But some of the people that have written Thrawn occasionally, they're not as smart.
You mean like where somehow he missed with a orbital bombardment with a person riding a...
Yeah, things like that. Now, in fairness, that plan should have worked. That was plot armor that protected that character, because physics says everyone down there should have been dead, because the energy output of turbo lasers should have flash fried everything down there.
Is this Star Wars Rebels?
This is in Ahsoka.
Oh, Ahsoka.
Whenever they were riding up to the temple before Thrawn took off with the Star Destroyer, and he's just like, alright, orbital bombardment, just blow them away. That should have worked. If a turbo laser blast hits where that door is, we would all be dead. This house would be atomized. You're not 10 feet away and just survive. At that point, you're Arnold in Commando. A grenade blows up next to me, I got a scratch. I throw in a here and I kill 10 guys that are 20 feet away from it. It's no, it's the same weapons.
I just like how in Commando, they don't even try to hide the springboards that flip the people up into the air. You can see them clear as day. Because, the ground flips up like this. It's of course.
Yeah, and kind of on that line real quick, in Raiders, the truck that they think Marion's in that gets blown up there in Cairo, they flip the truck by, whenever it goes over a certain point, there's literally a telephone pole shoots up out of the ground and flips it. Well, you can see it in the truck whenever it turns over. It's sticking out of the truck just before it blows up.
Yeah, those pesky telephone poles, you run those over.
Or whenever Indy's being dragged underneath the truck, if you pay attention, they carved a ditch out so that he'd be below the truck. And Harrison Ford actually did that, because he was like, well, we shot that pretty early on. It had to be safe, otherwise they'd have to cast someone else. Steven Spielberg's like, it was not safe. He could have easily died.
Alright, what do we got as our...
Alright, so on to streaming. The big news everyone's talking about is The Acolyte. So, the show has not been good. The first 2 episodes, I guess the best way to put this is, there are things that I would forgive in other things, but because the writing is bad, these things just take you out of the show. Okay, in the first episode, OSHA's character has to go out on the outside of the ship and like something catches on fire in space. Now, presumably, it's burning if I'm going to be favorable because there's some gas from inside the ship that's going up through it and igniting, you know?
Yeah.
There's a perfectly plausible explanation. However, since I'd already begun to dislike the show at that point, I'm sitting there thinking, fire doesn't burn in space, you fucking idiots. You know? Because the show has already set itself up for people to start dissecting it. Because it's not good. You know? Because of how stupidly Carrie-Anne Moss died moments before that. Because of the fact that they're like, oh, well, we could have droids go out and fix it, but it's cheaper to send people out. And I'm like, how? How is that cheaper? And it's illegal. You just said that. And given your casual disregard for their lives, because the character was like, turn the shields on. Like, well, the people's still out there. And they're like, we can hear you. You know that, right? Like, they would not work for these people for very long at all. Plus, they're Neomodians from the Trade Federation. People wouldn't work for them anyway, because they're assholes. Although, I'll give them points. They kept their love of giant, fabulous hats. Like, all the Neomodians have, like, stupidly complicated hats. But that's in character, so that's fine. And it was nice to see them again. You know, there are some elements of the show that are good. Like, again, seeing the Neomodians again. Because, like, they're a thing, you know? And, like, Squid Game guy, he's pretty good. It's very unfortunate that he's in this show, though. The man learned English for this part. Like, that's the dedication he had. He wanted the part so bad. Like, he deserves to be in a better production. And he's carrying things.
So where do you think the Acolyte falls so far in the Star Wars shows?
So far, I'm going with dead last.
Even somehow beating out Book of Boba Fett?
Yes, Book of Boba Fett at least had Boba Fett riding a Rancor in a stupidly ridiculous scene. And Danny Trejo for some reason. Like, and Boba Fett, like, showing Tuskens how to ride a Space Harley. Like, sure, that's all negated by the Space Vespas, but, like...
Well, and I think the Book of Boba Fett's biggest problem was, there was two. There was one that's like, I don't think it didn't feel like a complete season.
And it did take that detour into the Mandalorian.
And it should have... It shouldn't have been like every episode was a flashback to something else. They should have had the story start with him from the beginning and lead him up to a point.
Yeah.
And then, you know...
Well, the Acolyte's actually making a similar mistake. Because you have the first two episodes. Episode 3 is a flashback. And it's very obvious that we're not getting the whole story from that flashback. And then we're into episode 6 will be on here after a while. But at some point, we're going to get the other shoe's going to drop as to what actually happened back during the flashback. Because as it is presented right now, it is just beyond stupid. And, well, because the way it is presented right now, one of the two twins was going to go join the Jedi. Because she obviously tested as Force sensitive, and she wanted to leave. And the mom was actually kind of reasonable and was like, well, you know, if that's what you want to go do, you know, then okay. And then her sister's like, well, I'm not going to let you. I'll kill you. And locks her in the room and, like, sets her notebook on fire outside the door. 5 minutes later, this structure that we have seen is entirely made of steel and concrete is on fire. So, remember what I told you a minute ago about fire out in space? I think in general, people just don't understand how fire works. But, like, the building is on fire. OSHA only survives by, like, escaping out of her room, because, like, the whole front of her room is on fire now. And then she comes across all of the members of the Space Witch Coven, and they're all dead. They don't appear to have died by the fire, or by lightsabers, so we don't know how they actually died. Maybe smoke inhalation, I don't know. And then she meets up with May again, her twin, and they're both like, what'd you do? No, what'd you do? And it's like, well, one of the two of you is psychotic and set the building on fire. The other one just wanted to leave, probably because you're psychotic. And then a big reactor thing blows up because there's a fire next to it. OSHA thinks that May died. Squid Game saved her. And then on we go. And the problem is, like, clearly something else happened. We don't know what. I'm sure it's going to make the Jedi look absolutely awful, and because that seems to be the objective here in the show. So the problem is, like, I don't care about any of these people. Like, had I cared, the 5th episode probably would have been good. If I like actually cared about the people, whenever they all died in episode 5, like, yeah. As it is, I'm like, good. I don't have to listen to that idiot Yord anymore. I'm glad he got his neck snapped.
And you can make people care about, new characters. I mean, Rogue One, for example. I mean,
yeah.
When all the people died, you're like, these were all good people. Like, I actually like these people. And they're...
Yeah, I mean, so far, I care what's going to happen to Squid Game. Like, I'm on board with what he's got going on. Osha, at least she's not annoying. Yeah, I kind of care what happens to her. May's a psychopath. Like, if she doesn't die, there's a problem. And then the Sith Lord, by the way, that was like the worst reveal in history ever. By the end of episode 2, pretty much everyone was like, yeah, that guy's clearly the Sith Lord. Like, it's him. It's got to be him. Because just like everything he was saying, like, he knew way too much about the master plan, and he was clearly just acting, and May's just an idiot. Literally, once he was revealed, he, like, looks at May, and he's like, are you actually shocked it's me? Like, it's almost like taunting the audience, like, you guys didn't figure it out, come on. I laid all the clues out for you.
That's what you gotta do.
And then, of course, he point blank says he's a Sith. So, now we have a problem if Squid Game manages to survive or contact the Jedi Temple. Which is the logical thing to do, so he won't do it.
Yeah, no. I mean, why do things that, would help and work? And
Right. And so, like I said, the big problem is, from the get-go, there's structural issues with the show and questionable writing, and so that leads you to start picking it apart because you're not enjoying it. If you enjoy things, you don't sit there and pick them apart unless something just thoroughly batshit happens, and you're just like, hold on, and something just completely breaks your immersion.
Suspension of disbelief is more easily achieved when the thing is enjoyable.
Yes, very much so.
Well, that, and I don't think people, like you said, I don't think people actually know how the world works or how people work. Like, they come up with this story, and they're like, oh, this plot twist is going to be so whatever, but like everything that has to lead up to get to that plot point or whatever, like they have to make things like happen in a certain way, or like their big reveal won't work or won't happen or whatever. And none of that stuff leads up to it is how anybody would actually act or people.
Right. They start from where they want things to wind up and have to work backwards to get there, so things don't flow normally. Because good writing is, you're going to go where the writing is going to take you. You might have some idea where it's going to wind up at the end, but like, you're just going to go, and where it winds up is where it winds up. You massage it where you can, but like, you're just going to go.
And when people stop acting like people.
And so, well, like, the woman who produced, wrote, and directed parts of this, Harvey Weinstein's former acolyte, like, she said her inspirations were Frozen and Kill Bill. Like, I think she watched different versions of both of those movies than I've seen.
None of those are remotely close to what Star Wars is.
Well, she could have done one thing and follow Frozen a little bit more and just let it go.
Yeah. But yeah, so like there are good points to the show. Like I said, I don't think it's the absolute dumpster fire people have made it out to be. I don't think it's good though, but it's not just like unwatchable trash. There have been good moments. I'll give them points for the bug creatures in episode 5 were kind of original. I thought the lightsaber battle actually was pretty good. I don't think it's like, oh, this is as good as the Darth Maul fight from episode 1. No, it's not that good. But it's better than the throne room fight in The Last Jedi, that's for damn sure.
I mean, where people's weapons disappear, where people have obviously can stab and don't for no reason.
Yeah, no, this looks like people trying to kill each other. Like, this looks like this is on the up and up. The only mark I'll give against it is kind of dark and it's in a forest, so occasionally like the trees are in the way and stuff. But that's intentional. Uh, Again, it's good seeing the Neomodians again. It's interesting seeing the Jedi Temple, some stuff going on. Uh, it's interesting in that this is early enough that there are still other temples and not just the one on Coruscant. Um, I tell you, if someone wanted to make an older, like back in the past thing, I would really like to see that. To show what the Jedi were and how by slowly consolidating, they were setting up their own demise ultimately because they were becoming less and less with the people.
Thinking of the Jedi Temple on Dantooine.
Yeah. So yeah, like there's pluses to it, but also like there's not going to be a space battle in this of any kind. I don't see any way there could be. The Sith reveal, while totally expected, I don't know where that leaves us with the other Sith because I keep seeing I keep reading stupid articles on Screen Rant that I should really stop reading. But one of them's like, guys, Darth Plagueis is actually alive right at this moment in time. And I'm like, are you sure on that? Like, I mean, it could be, but like, are you positive on that?
I'm not sure the moon lifespan, but this is 100 years before Phantom Menace. I feel as if we'd be in Tenebris.
I would think so too.
Plagueis' master.
Yeah. I mean, Plagueis might be alive, but Tenebris would be is probably the Sith Lord at this point, which is why I think the guy here is probably actually the apprentice.
And there was one comment that me and Owen had made is that instead of using Ki-Adi-Mundi, they could have used Yaddle.
Yaddle, could have used Plo Koon. Plo Koon's race is a long-lived race. He's like 300 years old in the Phantom Menace. And there's a guy that looks just like him on the scene. They're like, no, that's absolutely not Plo Koon. He just looks exactly like him. But that is for sure Ki-Adi-Mundi. Because screw you, that's why. And it's like, the fuck are you doing?
Out of all the Jedi you could have you chose one of the worst.
I think they actually chose him specifically because of the one line.
Yeah, I'm sure that's why. And I'm also sure it's because Dave Filoni told him, no, you can't use Yoda. No, sorry. You do not pass go. Do not collect 200 space bucks.
So I said Yaddle would have worked just fine.
Yeah.
Girl Yoda.
Yeah, I mean, there were other options. And then there's the things that they've done that, like, okay, so like one of the Jedi, May is trying to kill 4 specific Jedi, the ones that were on her Space Witch planet, and she blames them for the deaths of all the others. One of them is a Wookiee. And so you're like, all right, we're going to get to see a Wookiee Jedi in action. No, you're not. They get to his hut, the Sith Lord already killed him. Just dead with a smoking gash across him where the lightsaber hit him. It's like, you people, like, what the fuck?
You had it set up for the...
Yeah.
I mean, you have, the deadliness of a lightsaber and the strength of a Wookiee.
Yeah. I mean, someone at least used his lightsaber, but, like, he was just dead. So, yeah. And we have Jedi Kung Fu now in a bunch of scenes. So, which, I mean, that actually kind of makes sense. They're monks and they practice swordplay, so they probably actually know Kung Fu also.
So, the grave was Terrakasi.
Yeah, well, there was a super deep cut from the EU in this last episode, though. The Sith Lord's helmet and his gauntlet was made out of cortosis. Or at least that's what it has to be.
I feel like I've heard that.
It's a metal that absorbs the energy, So, like, if a lightsaber blade hits it, it shorts out the lightsaber. Because, like, one guy hit it, and as soon as it shorted out, I was like, man, someone actually knew what the hell they were doing on this. That's got to be cortosis. They, like, hit him in the helmet, and their lightsaber just starts shorting out, and he's, like, carving through him. But also, the Wikipedia article is clearly wrong, because it mentions that it's one of the hardest metals in the universe. It's brittle like chalk. And that even happens in the show. Like, someone finally stops using their lightsaber and literally just hits him with his elbow and shatters his helmet. Because it's probably pure cortosis instead of cortosis weave, fucking KOTOR. So, like, you get the occasional deep cut like that, and it's like, man, did the same person that put this in have any input in the rest of the show? Or am I being too harsh and I should wait till all 8 episodes are out to really, truly judge this?
It's just some nerd they keep in the back. It's like, well, actually, they're like, shut up. Like, we need one good idea to put out there, and then we're gonna put our crap on top of it. So you just shut it. But no, stay there.
You've done your part. Go back to your hole.
Here's some Cheetos.
But yeah, and that's part of the problem is that these shows, they feel more like movies that have just been stretched out. And then they're episodic in how they're releasing them instead of like Netflix. So that makes it so that we're judging them episode by episode, when it probably should be judging them as a whole.
Yeah.
You can't judge them as a whole until you have the whole.
Right. And the problem is, like, then you have a show like House of the Dragon on HBO, which is also running right now, and the first 2 episodes of that have been excellent. And which also totally destroys the narrative they keep throwing out. Oh, you don't like this because you're a homophobe, or you don't like black people, or non-white people, or lesbians, or whatever. Meanwhile, House of the Dragon has literally all of that. And everyone's like, this show is awesome. Because it is. You know? And that show, they are episodes. There is a plot, but it's like Deep Space Nine. Like, it's engineered to be episodic. It's not a movie. You know, and the Star Wars shows feel more like they had an idea for a movie and stretched it out with a bunch of filler. You know, because to give you a perfect example, in the last episode, there's literally a point where Squid Game's like, "Hey, so where's the Wookiee Jedi? He's in the like someone's like asking someone like, well, he went to the forest. Squid Game turns around, it's a big forest. He's in there. It's like, yeah, that's what the guy just said. You all heard it. There was no point in repeating that. Like, this wasn't some revelation the Force just gave you. Like, the guy literally just told you where he was. You know? And, like, that whole sequence, like, you didn't need any of that. They should have just landed in the goddamn woods closer to where he lived.
Well, that's the issue in any of these Star Wars shows. Like, Ahsoka had that where they're like, why didn't they just land a little bit closer?
Yeah.
Or why didn't they do...
I mean, don't get me wrong, George did the same thing in The Phantom Menace. Like, why didn't the droid army just land in the capital? They couldn't stop them. You know? Yeah. Anyway.
We need those long walking sequences, though.
Yeah. So anyway, like, there are some upsides to the show. It's not trash, but it's not good. I mean, it could still improve in the last 3 episodes. I don't know. We have to see. But I'm not expecting miracles here.
I'm glad you at least are watching something streaming. Well, I did watch some... I did finish one show streaming, but it's not a nerd show. Well, I guess it technically is kind of a nerd show, but it's not. I've just watched That 70s Show from beginning to end.
Wow. So are you ready for that 80s show?
No. Though I am interested in watching That 90s Show because it's the continuation of That 70s Show.
I was going to say, that 80s show I think only had the 1 season.
Yeah, no. They actually continued.
And it's not a continuation of it. It's just a new show.
No, but that 90s show is a continuation.
Yeah.
But wow. But that 70s show, it shows how people talk about fatigue in a show or whatever. The fatigue really started happening, and I think that's why Topher Grace stepped out at the end of season 7, I believe, and season 8 had a replacement Topher Grace kind of character. Not it was a new character, but they kind of replaced him, and that season sucked.
How do you replace what is I always got the impression was the main character of the show?
Well, for what I've gathered, Topher Grace left the show to pursue movies.
Spider-Man 3.
Pretty much to do movies.
So you need to watch Spider-Man 3 to really complete the picture here, Jim.
Yeah, no.
You gotta don't view it as a That 70s Show. View it as the Topher Grace experience. After that, you watch Predators, and I don't know whatever the hell else he was in after that.
But yeah, so, and I think the only thing that was the saving point of season, I think it's season 8 was the last season, was the very final episode, because I don't know if they brought back the original writers or what, but it actually felt like kind of like an actual That 70s Show, and they had the entire cast brought back, because in season 8, Ashton Kutcher left, like after a couple episodes. His sister had to get replaced because, well, I I don't know if she died during the whatever, or if there was another obligation at the time. I know she died later, but in later seasons, yeah, she was a completely different actress.
Yeah, that's right. She did. I didn't.
Yeah. And no, just season 8 just was not good. Just I don't know. It's like everything just felt off about it. But
So they're kind of like Roseanne, where the one sister I think got replaced at one point.
yeah,
And then there's an episode way late in the series where they're like, where someone's like having a flashback and like, yeah, you look different then. Like,
now there's nothing even mentioned about that. But no, and Fez's arc is that he ends up with Jackie in the last episode, which I'm like, no, that shouldn't have happened. They live together. Like in the season 8, they have an apartment together because originally it was Ashton and Kelso. I say Ashton, Kelso and Fez living in an apartment together. Well, when Kelso left, Jackie moved in. So yeah, it's just strange.
sounds like.
But like I said, I think they made it right in the last one because they actually brought all the characters back. Because I'm pretty sure Topher Grace wanted to do that because that was probably the one show that brought him into the limelight. I mean, we know the movie that brought him in was Spider-Man 3, but
That's right.
as the hulking Eddie Brock,
Yeah.
the skinniest person on that '70s show, brought in as supposedly the who should have been a bulky character.
Yeah, Eddie Brock's a big guy.
Yeah, I think they.
Well, I think I want to say Sam Raimi commented on that in that he wanted him to look similar to Peter Parker since he's supposed to be like a dark reflection.
Yeah, but no.
I'm not saying it worked. I'm just saying that was the idea.
Tom Hardy's definitely a better pick for that.
Well, I mean, he did play Bane. So.
Oh yeah, that's what we could have talked about in the upcoming movies. The Venom for the third Venom movie.
They made a second one?
I still haven't seen the second one, and I haven't watched the trailer for the third one yet.
You have to watch the trailer for the third one. They venomize a horse.
Yeah, I saw
that. That's cool.
It is cool because it's like that's something practical. Because they're like, wait, how fast do you think that thing will go? And he's like, I don't know. Only he's like, we'll see how fast it goes before it dies. Which is funny because they venomize the horse, so Eddie has no venom on him. So Venom has to like hold on to him while he's in the he's the horse. But to my wonder is wouldn't the horse have some free will?
It depends, because since the Venom symbiote is self-aware and the horse is not.
I didn't think of that.
So I would think the Venom symbiote would be able to control it. I mean, since it can control sentient people, I think it'd be able to control a horse. That's speculation.
Yes, that's something you have to watch. The Venom trailer looked pretty good. Yeah. All the Wolverine, the most recent Deadpool Wolverine trailer looked pretty good with Sabretooth.
Oh, yeah, I still didn't see that one.
Because it's like, same actor that played the original.
Tyler Mane.
Yes,
yeah.
and except for now he's got like a big old bushy beard. Yeah, no, it's a good trailer because it's like you're getting, like you can tell that, the fight's getting ready to break down, and then Deadpool's like, oh, hold on, time now, and like he's like pulling like all the swords out of Wolverine's body. And he's like, hold on, you look ridiculous, and he pulls like 2 swords and a knife out.
So we do got some good movies coming out.
Yeah, we got you have to watch catch up on the Deadpool stuff so we can watch the third one.
Yeah.
You're old enough now.
And Loki, you didn't see it.
I know. I gotta do that.
Well, the TVA's in it. You gotta know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
So,
can Deadpool just break the fourth wall and tell me what's going on?
I mean, presumably he will. But
I don't know. He's got a lot to live up to because She-Hulk really broke the fourth wall.
Yeah, sure did.
What?
And
What are you? Is there an inside joke I'm missing?
Well, first of all, She-Hulk is the other Marvel character that does that.
Oh,
Okay? And
yeah.
So in her show, she did that.
I've heard. Yeah, I know
And
that.
then the finale of the show, she literally goes and meets Kevin, who's just like a robot spinning out plots for the MCU instead of an actual person. And so, like, there's going to be this big brawl and everything. Like, no, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? And it's like, because that's what people wanted to see, but what do you got? And then it just becomes some fourth wall breaking nonsense. And it's like, all right.
I give them credit, but
I mean, it's original. I'll give them that, And it's better than twerking with
Megan Thee
Stallion. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say on that note, I'm going to call.
Calling on the twerking note, huh? All right.
Let's go let old dogs lie.
Yes.
Or something like that.
Now we're gonna attempt a shorter format with these podcasts. Actually, I don't even know how long we were at. We're probably still at over an hour, but we're gonna see how that goes, and at least that'll give us some time to record some additional content here. So. Anyways, we'll call this meeting of the Geek Cabal to a close, and we'll hopefully see you on the next one, and hopefully a shorter amount of time than it took between this and episode 25.
Yeah.
So. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you do like what you hear, make sure you do the like, comment, share, subscribes, all that fun stuff. And we'll catch you on the next one.
See you folks later.
See ya.
See ya.